So the question always is, where do you find your inner drive? I guess the second question to that is, when do you find that inner drive? How do you find that inner drive? Is it something that you're taught? I don't think so. Perhaps your family has an influence, without a doubt. Your friends would have an influence, without a doubt. But if we really take a hard look as to who we are as people, where our inner strengths are, and in this case, maybe our physical strengths are, now all of a sudden, you're doing what you should be doing, not just what you could be doing, but what you should be doing. Our guest today is doing what he should be doing. There is different phases of growth along the way, without a doubt, different levels of expertise he had to pick up along the way, without a doubt. But still, that drive, that inner drive, well, that really comes from him. Question is, when did he begin? Well, I mean, we could take a look back on that resume kind of thing and see where it started, but something tells me it started a long time prior to that. What is he doing now? Well, he's doing now all those things that we've been talking about, and that is using your own expertise, your own strengths in order to help out yourself, your community, and those people that are surrounding you. Who are we talking to today? We're talking to a gentleman that has taken on many, many challenges. These are physical challenges. They probably go well beyond anything that you might even complicate and go, really? How do you do that? Well, we're going to ask him how he does that. The most recent ultimate goal, and I'll be very cautious as I say that because he's always got things coming up and things will always change and it's different things that he's doing. Oh, to row a boat around Long Island. Is that a one-day affair? Absolutely not. How long will it take? Well, we'll ask him exactly how long it'll take to row around Long Island. But let me tell you, that's quite the feat in order for it to happen. And how is he doing that? Well, of course, he's going to be doing that by his own power. Why is he doing that? Because he wants to help out the community also. So let me introduce you to Mr. Andrew Gilman. Mr. Gilman, I must say that I am thrilled that you are joining us today. You need to turn on your video and camera. There you are, my friend. Only fitting that you're sitting there with water in the background.
The best place to have it.
Yeah, it's either water or a mountain, one of the two.
Or frozen water.
Or frozen water. There you go, folks. You never know what that full question really should be or where the capabilities are. So, Andrew, look, there's so many people that are sitting there going, you know, like, what do I do? Where do I begin? How do I find myself? What real true value do I have that could be provided to other people? You've been pretty clear about that in your own endeavors, certainly of late, being involved in supporting the nonprofit community. But that didn't just start now. That started a long time ago. And when you found out what really got you going, what really was that thing that you should be doing.
I like pain.
Okay, there you go.
I like to hurt. I like to hurt myself. For me to feel pain, I need to really, really push. And for most people, once I'm feeling it, they're already exhausted and are deciding to quit. And that was really what, you know, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain, I like taking myself to that edge. And what I've realized is that there is really no edge. It's really just up to me. You know, I never, it's like kind of like making eggs. There's no point of where I'm going to burn my eggs when I cook them. It's just always going to come out the way I want it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would make my win on the turnaround on the run course at the end of the triathlon if it was out and back or the last loop. You know, most people go, oh, well, I'm just going to float up the hill. I'm going to go really easy. I push it on the hill. When it gets hard, I go harder. When somebody is hurting, I'm going to hurt myself much more than they ever could. Or if it's skiing uphill, I will find the highest altitude to start out with the most technical ascent going up. And now rowing, you know, pretty big water right off the bat on Long Island. That's, you know, logistically intense and it's skill intense, and the training is endless. And yeah, it's a good fit for me.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way,
Yeah.
especially on the pain side of things and the whole challenge. So, folks, for those of you that are not familiar with Long Island, it is a extension suburb of New York City. Long Island actually is an island, and it is the circumference of the island, something around 250 miles.
Yeah, 248, 250, depending who's measuring.
Okay, so 250 miles. So you have the Long Island Sound on one side, which gets to be awfully rough depending upon which way the wind is blowing. Of course, going across Orient Point, Montauk, and I've been in a boat a few times, so we've seen some interesting weather along the way there. But going across Orient Point, Montauk, you've got a wide variety of currents coming through, even on the nicest of days. So forget the wind aspect of it. And then you're coming around the other side, you have to do time in the ocean. So it's not just coming around the Great South Bay.
I've got about half of it is the ocean.
Right. So when you're coming along the South Shore, that's going to be ocean, not the bay? Yes. Okay.
That'll be, going down like Port Washington and the Bayside first. And then after that, moving towards the bay. Or moving towards the bay to the ocean.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you've got a couple of
Statue of Liberty and, Verrazano Bridge, and so that'll be wild.
Yeah. I mean, the things to consider on that one, it's funny. Not that it's funny, but we could go through this thing from a boating aspect of it too, because I've had a boat and I've been through. I've been through all of these. New York
Harbor Patrol thought I was rather interesting.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, make sure you call us when we're there. And call us before it starts with a 9 and ends with a 1.
Yeah, right. We'll call you. Follow you with a helicopter too. But the currents in all these places are so totally different. The logistics of this thing is kind of fascinating too. Between the wind, ocean currents, just currents moving through the sound around Orient Point. That's a big one. And also coming up the river. You cannot be rowing up the river when the flow of the river is downstream.
Exactly. You'll never do it. They'll throw you.
Learn that in a boat, even with an engine, and not a boat with a considerable engine. It didn't really
low power engine. You're not going anywhere either.
Yeah. So as much as I would love to focus on the logistics of that, and I certainly would, there is a reason and a path that got you to this point. You don't just wake up one day and say, all right, you know what? Let's go do this. Even though you're very interested in pushing yourself to the limit on all of your endeavors, it certainly sounds like. But the beginning side of this thing, you went to college, and it was like all of a sudden college became the turning point.
College is where I started triathlon and figured out that I don't know how to swim, at least at the point where I need to be competing. So I can compete. And so I paid my friend Vic's girlfriend, Susie, $8 or $4 an hour. And she helped me swim. And then I raced the triathlon about 2 months later. And I was one of the first out of the water. So it seems like it was a good fit pretty fast.
Absolutely. I have much to learn from you. I learned how to swim, and then I did a biathlon in the ocean. So I learned how to swim in a pool, went to the ocean. That's a whole different world in and of itself. And I came in, let's say, inverted second. I had one of the lifeguards follow me out. That was,
very nice.
That was that. I got a chance. It became a social occasion. I got a chance to meet a lot of people along the way.
Yeah, inverted second, like you're the second one on the boat. The lifeguard was dragging
in. Yeah, I made it. But it was definitely not a pretty sight. But you do these triathlons. So what was it like to prepare for that first triathlon? Because now you're really going into something that was an unknown.
The first triathlon I prepared for, I had no idea what I was doing. There wasn't really a whole lot of triathlon in Buffalo, New York. They're really a sedentary bunch. I mean, unless you count like going to a Kiss concert or drinking an activity or aerobic, there's not really a whole lot going on, and it's not an active lifestyle. We would go ride our bikes out in the middle of nowhere and be harassed by people in trucks, and you hear gunshots going off when you're riding past a community, and it's just not a place that we wanted to be, really.
Right.
I'd swim at some nice pool that was across the way from Nassau Community College. We're taking a summer course there after I was a camp counselor. But my first race was on July 27th, I think, the Dr. J's fifth annual triathlon, duathlon, 5K, 10K relay. And Gino's Pizza in Port Washington paid for the race for me, which they probably got back the money from me about 300 times at the minimum. I mean, come on, it's the best pizza. It was the best pizza in town. It's probably, I'm sure it's still there, if I'm going to guess.
You got to replace those calories you burn, right?
Exactly. I just can't eat lactose. So now it'd be a little bit different. But it was really difficult. I had no idea how to run. I was running up and down. I looked more like a pogo stick than a runner. And, eventually when I came out to Colorado, I had a teacher who was a very high quality runner and, a senior Olympian. He was still running marathons at 6-minute miles. So Mark was really fast. And then he died of cancer. You sleep, you eat well, you don't drink much, you exercise, you still die.
Well, that's it. But
isn't it really? It's so, yeah.
Isn't it more about how you live rather than how you die or when you die?
Exactly. But right. you gotta live long and live well, and not have pain in your life and
enjoy the journey. Yeah.
It is a journey. So I was running like an idiot. My cycling was always pretty strong. I really had to learn to run in a way. It was a lot of effort to run, a lot of watching myself in a treadmill running without bouncing, swimming. It's said that you swim for your life, you bike for show, and you run for dough. And eventually I was running for dough and taking it home.
Right. And, you've certainly taken this from a amateur level. I use the word amateur level. Well, they use sponsors, so maybe we can debate how you want to call yourself on that one. Even though
very very well sponsored. So
but yeah, right. So but eventually this really became a business for you. This became it's not so much as a business. You became a professional athlete, going from this is what I want to do. The idea of pain, in other words, pushing yourself beyond what you perhaps thought you were capable of, or to go on to a professional level. But it's not just triathlons, right? You've been focusing on the biking, climbing,
swimming, biking, running. When I was racing triathlons, all I did. I everything else was second. Everything. So there was only swim, bike, run. Right. If you weren't somebody I swam, bike, and run with, I probably weren't friendly with you, because that's all I did. And that I sacrificed everything. I worked as little as possible outside of triathlon. I made a small living. I had just enough to get by. And there were a lot of guys who were just born right. They were born better than me. They were just naturally faster, more talented. And, I had to find my niche of what I was really good at.
But that idea,
so the pain, there's still guys who can outride you on a flat course or flatter course or hilly course, but I was able to typically win it on the run and get win my podium on the run, and that's what made the difference. Racing on Long Island was a joke. The competition is about zero outside of the swimmers, and after that there was nothing. I did 2 races in triathlon, two races in 2 triathlons in New York and Long Island.
Yeah, there are events over here, but I don't know what kind of quality people that there. Let me rephrase that one. What kind of a competitive level there is with that, and I don't know. I'm not in that world at all. I've run the New York Marathon a couple of times, but I'm mid-pack, if not a little bit further back. I enjoy doing it. I did it for me, not for anything else. So that was, it's different. It's a different crowd. And I know the New York Marathon
Oh yeah.
is a different crowd, but the triathlon, if you're running competitively, that is unbelievable. There's one gentleman that I spoke to about it that did a triathlon, first time doing it. And he said the amount of training that went into that for him was just absolutely immense because he was, his consideration is he had to finish on time before you get to the time limit. You're on the other side of the spectrum. It's not a matter of finishing on time. It's finishing before everybody else's time. So
yeah, it was finishing in front. It wasn't just before their time. It was within the top people finishing. Coming off the bike in 2 hours for 56 miles.
That's an amazing number. You're talking 28
Better.
miles.
Averaging about 27.2.
Yeah.
The entire time.
And these are they're not necessarily flat rides either, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Or coming off the bike at almost 30 miles an hour for the Olympic distance, or a little over 30 miles an hour. I'm moving faster than you would on any city street on an average speed. Most people average speed is about 20 or 16 if you're driving through the city.
Yeah.
And in New York City, your average speed is less than walking.
Yeah, New York City is its own little world in there. So how did you transitioned after that with the triathlons? You picked up a few different sports. Obviously, you got into the rowing side of it, but you also, climbing, the mountain climbing and the ice climbing. Why the transition? What happened with the transition?
I no longer wanted to wake up for races. I'd get to a race course. I'd be there, happy to see, be at the course. And I just wasn't wanting it anymore. And my contracts were expiring. And that's what most of us just say, oh, screw it, we're done.
Okay.
So from there, I was always into mountaineering. I climbed Mount Whitney, not Whitney, tallest mountain in New York.
Tallest mountain in New York?
Yeah, tallest mountain in New York in the winter. Stayed at ADK Lodge at a lean-to. Well, either way, my buddy Rich and I, who's now instructor at App State in Boone, North Carolina, we climbed that in the winter. And the day we climbed it, 3 Canadians got lost in the route finding on the way down. Oh yeah, route finding on the way down for us, I felt was really easy. Somebody had to put a stake in with a surveyor's pink tape on it. It was easy to sight based on that and take a heading and know which way we had to come back to. And we know that we left tree line and we went back to tree line. But I think these guys were maybe drinking or just really just not paying attention at all.
Yeah.
I mean, these 3 Canadians died the same day we were up there, and we didn't have, we entered the logbook, but we never had contact from the Park Service or anything.
The mountains in New York are not really that big, but the safety factor is still there.
The Adirondacks,
you never know.
The Adirondacks are one of the most dangerous mountains in the world for its accessibility and its incredibly low temperature.
Wouldn't know that. You would tend to think if you're just looking at that, it's a matter of, what's the highest peaks and things like that. Like I've gone up Mount Washington. I know it's, one of the windier places. The weather change. Maybe, you know what? Maybe just prepare more for something that and that kind of thing. It's when you get caught off guard at some of these mountains, where it really, truly, does not work. Because there's also a plaque at the top of that one of climbers that have gotten lost, and it's mostly in the winter. And my guess is, these are accomplished people that just saw it as a small mountain. It's only a 6,000 foot high, mountain, but when the weather's not good, the weather's not good. You really
Mount Marcy, that's what it was. Yeah, to have, to think the mountain's not very big or not very dangerous because it's not very big is pretty much the great equalizer. The idea is like, well, I'm just going for a hike a few blocks from the house. And in Boulder, a few blocks from the house can go from 5,500 feet of elevation to 7,000 plus feet of elevation very quickly. And what that allows somebody to do is really just put their guard down.
Right. And it's like missing the short pass. It's easy. I'll get it. Oh, I forgot to actually pay attention, or I forgot the details, forgot to check the weather, forgot to do whatever. It's not a good thing. So you've got, with the climbing also, you enjoy ice climbing,
Ice
which is a
climbing, yeah.
fascinating sport. That one you really got to pay attention to because
You'll
you
get hit in
don't
the face with ice. A lot of people bleed while climbing ice on their face
from the
because you
ice
get hit,
chips.
yeah, from the ice popping you in the face every so often.
Hmm.
So everybody climbs with sunglasses on, or you have a shield, and if you don't, you're going to hit yourself in the face with the ice. But what's nice though is sometimes you get a little ice chip in your mouth and kind of like a mixed drink every so often.
So you get a little perk. All
You get a
right.
little perk.
So
It keeps it interesting. I have never said, oh, I didn't want that little bit of ice chip in my mouth while climbing.
yeah, fascinating stuff. I look forward to actually learning more about these different stories that you have, in detail because it's fascinating. All
Yeah.
the preparation that goes into it, and then the outcome of it. But it's not just the summit. It's not just reaching the goal. It's coming back from the goal and being able to do this stuff again and again. All right, so you've gone into the clear blue ice and climbing that. Now all of a sudden you're touching Lake Tahoe. You got a 24-hour row coming up, and then you're joining the saltwater team over here on Long Island. Was there any reason for the transition to go from climbing in the middle of the winter to boating in, well, maybe not the middle of the summer, but still in slightly warmer
Uh,
weather?
it's just another challenge. It's an aerobic aerobic endurance based challenge, and it's something I like. There's an adventure component to it. You're not totally in control. It's logistically intense. It's gear intense. More gear, more fun. Uh, so
Yeah.
it's well worth it. And the challenge of putting myself in a new environment where I'm not totally comfortable, where I'm not completely in control, where I need to be prepared physically, technically with my skill, the understanding of how my boat moves and my oars, the nutrition component is I've had that dialed in for a long time, but it does tweak in terms of what nutrition product I'm sponsored by, or now I try to really focus using more real food. If you talk to me when I was 20, I was just eating bars. I was all about energy bars. That was the greatest thing, energy bars. But until I got sponsored, I'd spend way too much, a lot of money on them, the Cliff Bar, Power Bar, whatever people were using. And now I'm sponsored by Power Bar after never being sponsored by Power Bar, which was kind of funny.
Right. So
And yeah, so it's a major challenge, and that's what I enjoy from start to finish.
yeah, to actually row a boat around Long Island, you do have, as I mentioned in the beginning over here, you've got a wide variety of currents to deal with. You've got just wind, you got regular weather to deal with too. And the fact that there are certain places that you could pull in, for safe shelter, and there are other places not. So a 250 or so mile row, how many miles do you think on average you should be able to cover in the course of a day?
I can cover 40 miles. I'm sure of that. As long as the wind and the waves the waves I'm really not too concerned about. But as long as I'm with the tides, the currents I don't need to fight them, then, there is no fighting the tide.
No.
Yeah,
And you,
that only stops when you get, 25 miles out.
yeah, but
Uh,
you get the real tidal consideration, big time. Once you're coming
yeah,
around Manhattan, that's probably going
down
to
to
be the
Hell's
most
Gate,
traumatic.
and
Yep,
yeah,
Hell's
Hell's
Gate,
Gate
exactly.
and the Plum Gut. Those are the two most profoundly dangerous areas within the United States
Yeah,
out of the 10 very dangerous areas. And they're within the top three, I think. Top five, according to the Coast Guard.
yeah. There is a
So,
clear line. You could be in a ferry going across that thing, and you can see the clear line in the water of one current going another way and another current going another way. And the last time I was on a ferry crossing that, it was a beautiful sunny day, no wind, no story, no weather effort, nothing like that. And it was still there. So,
yep. And it will never change. It will be that way until, well, the water's not there.
right. So The timing will be everything on that one. Because if you throw wind, weather, etc., on top of that, it just becomes that much more. I'll use the word exciting. Well, you might use the word more painful, and you might use the word more motivational also.
It's also it's more dangerous more than anything else because you're not going to beat it. And at that point, it becomes an abject hazard. And the first part about any experience, whether, in terms of that you're not completely in control of, especially your own movement and progression forwards to hit your goal, is that you need to understand what you're going into and mitigate that at that point, right? You don't want to walk into a whiteout. You want to see that whiteout if you can. You want to see that rainstorm before it falls, and you want to get shelter. So in my case, I'll jump on the boat, we'll go to a dock, or I'll go to the shore. And before that, before we're there, based on my, how my body feels, how far am I from this area? Do we just need to stop for a few hours? It's not a matter of fighting it. It's a matter of fighting my desire to keep going through it potentially. Mountaineering, we would call it summit fever, where you just have to get to the summit, but the avalanche conditions are obviously going to kill you, or the temperatures and the wind are going to definitely kill you. Or you don't have the right gear and you just need to be there with your team. And if not, that's going to kill you. So it's the lack of decision-making skills correct decisions. And that's really the biggest problem that people develop for themselves, is that they let these small incidents turn into a major accident. Because nothing happens in any situation except an avalanche or a freak lightning strike on a sunny day with zero clouds in the area, or somebody going out and getting hit by a rogue wave. Nothing happens all of a sudden. Not even you having to brake hitting your car, hit the brakes in your car happens all of a sudden, unless you're not paying attention.
Exactly.
Right? You are the one who's in control of the distance and the speed.
Yeah.
And whether you pay attention or not.
And this will be interesting because there are certain places you can seek shelter and other places along the path that you're taking around the island that you are not going to be able to seek shelter. So the planning side of it will be a very big factor as it gets tossed into the equation. So I'd like to end, so you're doing this. You're not just doing this for the sake of doing this. You're not just doing this to accomplish another goal. You really want to bring the nonprofit community into this and help them raise funds in a manner that is very, very much in sync with their own goals and objectives of keeping costs in line with monies that get raised and things like that. You just want to explain that one a little bit as you see it unfolding at this point?
So yeah, right now we're partnering with more than likely with Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Sorry, Leukemia Lymphoma, Marty Lyons Foundation, Michael Magro Foundation, and potentially Ronald McDonald House, but that has not yet been confirmed. And people just aren't really giving right now from a donor standpoint as much, and maybe this will inspire them, in my opinion, to reach back out to these nonprofits. And everything seems to be very unstable because of this COVID nonsense and people not getting vaccinated and having these densities of areas where you can develop new viruses. As there's a density, things can perpetuate. And it's really our fault now that this happened by every means, because people decided that they knew and their opinion counted on a level which it didn't count, and they have no say. And if it was up to me, this is not a part of the United States that has a freedom to it. You don't have the choice here. You don't have the freedom of choice to get to decide whether you want something like this or not. And if you don't get it, in my opinion, you should be put behind bars.
Okay.
Yeah. And now you become a global risk, not just yourself, but to the entire country and the entire world. And so it might be extreme, but it is extreme. But if that's the fear that somebody needs, I mean, it's like why we return library books that are for free. We do it because that's what we do. Right. And other people want to be able to take that book out. but and that affects globally. It comes back to affecting nonprofits
Very
that
much so. The
are,
nonprofit community had quite the challenge last year about getting together.
picked. They canceled all their events. People are being tapped 3 times for giving, if not more, and financially things are just unstable. And at the same time, certain markets are thriving, like the outdoor industry, the nautical industry, the marine supplies. If there was an outdoor convention or a boating show, they would say these are just demos. We can't sell anything. Everything's sold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just show and tell. There's no purchasing,
Right.
because people are finding ways to not be near each other. And so for me, maybe I can hit both of these industries and both of these sides of adventure, and people will realize that if they can go out and they can buy a new surfboard, they can probably give $20 to your local nonprofit, so they can put food on the table for somebody for a week.
Well, doing this as a fundraiser for the nonprofits certainly addresses the issue, because last year we couldn't get together. All the nonprofits were in that not having any face-to-face events, gala events, fundraisers, walks, all the rest of that stuff. This absolutely addresses that, because it is you out there alone in the boat, supported and with other people. So that should be good. And I think from the businesses that want to get involved in this, whether it be through donations or assistance, product support, or just safety support, I think there's a number of opportunities that are there. But you raise a good point about the challenges of raising money for the nonprofits. So giving them this opportunity to do it, and it's different. It's something that's totally different. So kudos to you for coming up with a unique idea. Thrilled that you're coming back home again to Long Island.
I never felt like I belonged on Long Island. The closest to Long Island maybe I belonged was the Gunks. New Paltz. If I was really smart, I should have went to SUNY New Paltz for college. Just had the right programs for me. But Long Island isn't a place that was anything other than where I grew up. It was not it's just very difficult to have ever felt that I belonged there, or it was, it offered me nothing other than going to a good school, and it's safe, and just, it's not really an active community in the sense where I'm going to go outside and I can go left or go right, and it's endless and different adventure in each direction. Even like South Dartmouth, Massachusetts, to me, is easier to be in. The aspect of being active, being, it was the 90s, and being gay in the 90s is just not something you told the kids you went to high school with. Being someone who's an athlete, who is endurance-based and doesn't play a sport that you have other kids playing with. Even rowing, the way I row is not in a team. I'm the only one on the boat, and that isn't even looked well on now. And it's also more expensive, essentially, to outfit a team of singles than than an 8-person boat. Finally, in Port Washington, in the last 10 years, I was told they have now a Port Washington rowing club. I feel left out. I definitely would have liked to be on that. I was. My mother could have only schlepped me to so many places, but I could have rode my bike to the rowing club in Port Washington.
Maybe they'll make you an honorary member now.
I'd love to be an honorary member. They're all about 8-man boats, and I'm all about single. My boats are $12,000. They could take that $12,000 and drop 26 to 30 and get 8 kids in a boat. So I'm literally 10 times more expensive to outfit than one.
Well, that's tough for a school to spend that money.
Oh, it's not even a school; it's private.
Oh, well, then there you go. Maybe there is something there. So who knows? Well, when you come down here, you'll meet with them. Who knows? Maybe they will make you.
I'll probably do a talk with them.
Yeah, and you get 7 of your support folks to join you in their 8-man boat and go with that. It'll be an interesting photo opportunity.
7 support people. I got my 2 logistics people. Got my web person. I don't think she won't be joining me. My boyfriend won't be joining me. I'm just there alone.
Oh,
And
come
I'll
on.
be
We'll be
staying.
there for you.
I'll be staying with my photographer, I think.
All
That'll
right.
be the easiest.
Well,
And
he
my
can't
aunt
be in the
lives in my
boat
house.
because he's got to take the photo. So forget him.
Exactly. And I
So
don't know
he's
if he'd
out.
fit.
I'll go with you. I'll
All right.
interview you while we're there.
That'll be easy, but in between breaths.
That's fun.
Yeah. In between navigational beacons.
Oh, but we'll see how far we get with that one. But it'll be fun to do. We'll do an interview on the water interview. I've never done that
Water
before.
in the water.
In the water.
Yeah. Hey, if you've got the that we'd have to get a double. We'd have to get a 2X.
You
Those
work
are
on
also
that.
really seldom. Oh yeah, because my boat shipping now is probably the most difficult part to deal with. We're having a major problem with transporting it to the point where I called a competing company, and the guy's like, "Hey, I got a boat for you for $6,000. It was used twice by a guy in his 60s, so it's never been used." And he goes, "I can get it to you. It's 3 hours from Lake Tahoe." And he's like, "Well, I might be landing and taking a flight, taking a drive to go pick this thing up if we have that type of problem and the thing hasn't sold yet." But the guy's a dealer, so he'll probably sell it before I get there. And it's unfortunate that this one schmuck can make such an impact on the entire, jeopardize the entire mission of both events and my training. And he's already impacted 30 days of my training in Colorado, here in Boulder.
Something tells me you're going to figure out a way to work through that one too. You seem to have
Yeah,
worked
my
through
lawyer is really
everything
good,
else.
so I'm sure that I'm sure he's going to be very motivating if it needs to be.
All right. Hey, Andrew, I really appreciate you taking out the time during your day.
Thank you. Yeah, I do need to get into a
here.
training session.
Yep. Be good. I look forward to, to this as we get a little bit, the details come together a little bit more. I mean, the boating and the current and the weather aspect of it, I personally find to be fascinating. The idea of you using your talents and skills in order to help out the nonprofit community is all good. It's a great thing for the nonprofits to get behind. And the fact that there are many that can too makes it a very interesting setup from that aspect of it. So also very good. So Andrew, again, thank you so much. Your massive mountain project would be the thing to follow, and it's
follow. Actually, if you come out and you take pictures, which would be great, please tag them with Row Andrew Row, being capital R and capital A, capital R on the name, and it's driven by endurance. We just my team and I just rebranded.
Excellent.
So driven by endurance is the name, the mentality, and the ethos of the project is endurance-driven philanthropy, because I'm the engine that drives the philanthropy.
I like it. Sounds great.
Yeah,
it really
exactly.
is. It's
Thank you.
good.
I appreciate it.
And the world will be a better place for the whole thing too. Again, Andrew, thank you so much, and we will definitely speak again.
All right. Thanks for having me. I got to actually
So Andrew Gilman, he's out there and he's doing his thing in order to help out the nonprofit community, doing it in a rather unique way. And this is something that, we talk about quite frequently, is like, what is it that you can do in order for you to help out the nonprofit community, for you to help out your local community, for you to help out those that are suffering from different situations and help them out. And this way they could reach their potential. Does it have to be extreme as what Andrew's doing? No, definitely does not. It could be something much smaller. Sometimes it's just a smile, a conversation. Other times it's, sharing your time, energy, and effort in a manner that helps the organization grow, not just the person that the organization is servicing. I certainly do look forward to meeting with Andrew in person and learning much more about his row around Long Island. If you want to follow him, you're going to do the hashtag thing, and that's Row Andrew Row. Remember, friends, however you do it, speak well, speak often, and live inspired.